So the reason that I'm here is that there's lots of things that I actually do. One of them is I'm actually editor of Anthill, which is an online publication for startups and entrepreneurs and innovation and digital stuff. But day to day, I work with companies, big ones, small ones, well-funded startups, to actually help them execute on their ideas. And I get asked a lot, how did I have this as a career path? Which is a very fun question. I did actually do 3 very unrelated degrees, 2 of them here at QUT, 1 on this wonderful campus. But I don't seem to be clicking. Go? Anyway, so I've actually had a little bit of an introspection and thought about why is it that I think this way? And it came to me the fact that I grew up on that little star at the top there, in the middle of nowhere, Queensland, technically, on a very large property, very isolated. And I used to watch my dad and my uncle and my cousins look at all the problems on the property and things that needed to happen and what did we actually need to do to get done to keep this, this business, our farm was our business, keep this business going. And I learned that you had to identify problems that could be fixed, problems that should be fixed, and what were the problems that were actually worth solving. And we would then find ways to fix things that needed to happen. We would build prototypes and we would test things and we'd all have ideas. And I've been sort of doing this since I was very small. I was immersed in this culture where we identified problems that we had to solve and then we made prototypes and tested and worked out whether that would work, and if that didn't work, what would. And we'd talk to other farmers in the area and we'd go, oh, they've got the same problem as us. And we'd all start to sort of share ideas and test each other's prototypes and build these things. So I've kind of come from this culture of understanding that you can find problems worth solving and then get your ideas from that and then go and make things of them. So that's one of the questions I get asked. It's not a very linear path that I've taken in my career, but that's kind of where it's come from. The other 3 big questions that I get asked, one is often around marketing and how do I get media publicity for my clients, which I'm actually not going to talk about today, but that's sort of the editor side of things. But the other 2 big questions that I get asked quite frequently are, am I really ready to start my own business? Am I really ready to go with this startup thing? And is my idea actually worth it? Is there anything to my idea? And those are the 2 things that I'm going to talk about today. So who here actually has an idea? Maybe a spark, just a little niggle that you think this actually could be quite something. Who's got an idea? There's got to be people here with ideas. Excellent. The thing is, we actually all do. Most of us have actually really good ideas, and so do most of the big enterprise. I work with big banks and big insurers and big airlines, and they've all got really great ideas, but they don't kind of know what to do with them next. I've got the idea, now what? And that's what I work around, and that's what I'm kind of going to share with you today. What do you do once you've had this idea? But before we get a little any further, I just sort of want to explain what I mean when I talk about startups. And there's no hard and fast definitions for what a startup really is, but these are the kind of things that we sort of use to define them. It's usually something that's happening right now. It has the potential for rapid growth, but the flip side of that is that there's no actual guarantee of success. There is no manual for doing this. I don't know about you, but that actually kind of sounds like my life. So my point is, you've gotten this far, you got here today, I managed to put on matching shoes, I'm quite pleased. You are actually ready to run a startup because you are actually all currently participating in the biggest startup you'll ever be a part of, which is your life. There is no manual. You all have tremendous, potential for growth, but there's no guarantee. A lot of jargon in startup world. One of the great ones is pivot, which is when you sort of change your pathway to still sort of achieve a determined goal. And you all absolutely are experts at that. Who had a to-do list this week? Who got it all done? Absolutely. So what you did as you went through your week was you pivoted. You went, yep, that's more important. Oh, that looks much more fun. So that's very much like what it is like to run a startup. And I'm going to go back to being a parent as well. Already some parents in the room we've saw from the last presentation. You have these, these small little things, and you put them into cots, and they sleep and they eat, and they have these great routines, and you think you've got it all completely sorted out, and then they change, and they wake up and they refuse to eat anything, and all you've got to go on is, is making it up as you go along. That's the secret to parenting. You make it up as you go along with whatever you've been given, whatever hand you've been dealt. And that is exactly like running a startup. You have to make stuff up as you go along. You may not admit that, but that's really what you're doing. So my point is, you are all absolutely ready to take your idea and turn it into a startup. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a fully fledged business, but you've got an idea and it can become something. So the next question that I get asked is my idea valid? Do people actually want this? And that's what I'm going to take you through next. A few things that you can actually do to determine if your idea is worth it. I'm going to share a story about things that I'm working on at the moment. So I've got the editor job and I've got the CMO stuff that I'm doing with Edge Labs. But I've probably got about 3 or 4 other ideas that I'm working on in the background as well. Of the 4, 3 of them are very technology-based. Stuff that I know inside out and backwards. Building software, building platforms, all that sort of stuff, that's second nature to me. I've been doing that for 20 odd years. It's not a big deal. But I've got this other thing, and it's something you can actually physically touch. And I'm suddenly completely out of my depth. And it's been a really great reminder for me that that's how everyone feels when they have their first idea. When they first think, oh, I'm going to do something with this, but I don't know what. So I'm having this very interesting learning curve. And the reason why this idea is so important to me, there's the penguin, started it all. That is my 7-year-old daughter, and she is allergic to egg white and tree nuts. Not to the point where she needs to have an EpiPen, but it's the next level down on a sliding scale of allergies. She's severe. She does have to have medication if she comes into contact with those foods. Mostly you can avoid them. In March this year, our school fete is the biggest fundraising for our kids. And I'm there working and doing this sort of stuff, and I didn't necessarily have all the stuff I usually have with me, handbag. But even then, carrying a large bottle of liquid medicine, which I have to administer if she comes into contact with stuff, is painful. My handbag looks like this anyway, so a huge bottle of drugs in there is not ideal. And she comes running over with a friend, and she's vomiting, she's frothing at the mouth, she's deeply distressed, and her friend says she's had egg. I'm going, oh God, okay. And I know I don't have the drugs with me. And as it is the school fete, and the suburb that I live in Melbourne is about 2 kilometres square, but I still have managed to make that 2 parking zones. It's a big fundraiser for our school. It's a big revenue raising for the local council, because if you're in the wrong zone on that day, you will get fined in your car. So I have a 7-year-old that is having a major allergic reaction, and my car is a kilometre away where the drugs are. So I scoop her up and I run as best you can to get her, give her the drugs, and within 5 minutes, drugs have worked, and she's actually fine. And she's like, okay, let's go back. But which is great, incredible resilience. But for me, it was horrifying. I felt so unbelievably helpless. Here is my child, and because I haven't brought the stuff with me, she has gone through 15, 20 minutes of a hideous reaction. And I never wanted to feel that way again. I never wanted her to feel that way again. I never want any parent to ever feel that way again, no child. And that is why I'm now taking this risk, and I'm moving into this area of stuff that I don't understand about manufacturing physical stuff and looking at industrial design and doing all these things, because I don't want anyone to ever feel that way again. And this is why you need to think about what your idea is trying to address. Why you're doing it is so very important, often even more important than what the idea is. There are very bad reasons to pursue ideas. Some people have whys. Why I want to do this is because I want to be a millionaire. Yep, no, that's probably not going to happen in the scheme of things. Another why that I've heard is, I don't want to have a boss. I want to be my own boss. It's like, yeah, well, even if your startup is successful, you're probably going to have a business partner. You're probably going to have investors. You're going to have a board, and you've always got the ATO. There's always somebody there telling you what to do. So you're never going to really be your own boss. And the other one is work-life balance. I can tell you now that doesn't actually ever exist. So I'm doing all this stuff on the side of the other 2 things that I already do. So really understand why it is that you want to do these things. The other thing that I did then, so I've got my prototype, and I've given it to people for them to test them and try it and see, and actually I'm watching them. But what you never do once you have this idea and why you want to do something is ask people what they want. Henry Ford was very right. If they asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Your job, owning the idea, is to actually give it to people, watch what they do with it, see what happens, and learn from that. And the next part of it is it a problem worth solving? Understand what pain it is you're trying to solve. I know what pain I'm trying to solve with this new idea. Don't have an idea and then go looking for something to fix. Work out what the pain point is and then make sure your idea addresses it. Make sure that there's actually a match between that pain and what your solution is. Is there a market fit? So do people actually want it? So this is when you give people a prototype and give people stuff and sit back and watch it and listen to what they say, but don't necessarily ask them what they want. Again, it's a Donald Rumsfeld strategic thing, but the unknown's unknowns. You don't know what you don't know yet. We didn't know we all wanted iPads until there was one. There had been previous tablet devices in the market that had failed dismally. But when we saw the iPad, we all wanted it. But we didn't know that. And we thought we were a bit mad when we first heard the announcements. But you can work out, does the market want your idea? And what is the size of that potential market? So for me, it's mostly parents with kids under 10 who need to take liquid medicine, most likely mums. So I can actually define that market quite clearly. This is a fundamental of marketing. I know how big it is. I know where they are. I know what motivates them. I can also start to work out what they're probably likely to want to pay and spend. So understanding the potential of your market is very important at this point. Understanding what hurdles. There are going to be hurdles, let's face it. My big one is for this one, I know nothing about manufacturing, but I know I can learn. So making a list of the things that might actually stop your idea going further is good. And there will be hurdles that you don't foresee, but at least if you've thought it through, you'll be much more equipped to deal with them when they happen. And if a hurdle, you can go under it, you can go around it, you can go whichever way, but if you plan that, it'll be much less of a surprise when these things happen. Then this is what happens. My favourite cartoonist. You have a great idea and it's brilliant and it's so exciting, and then you overthink it and you doubt and think, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever done, and you throw it away and you drink a lot of whiskey, and then you come back and go, actually no, there was something in that. And the thing I like is the little triangle at the end. It's still green, same as the circle. It's not the same idea, but it's changed. And you will go through that many, many times when you have your ideas. And when you've got to the cusp where you actually think, okay, this is it, this is actually what's going to work, please, 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 develop a business plan. A lot of people say you don't need one, you just need a back of an envelope, back of a napkin. Don't. Even do it on one page. Write down what your problem is, what your idea is, what are you solving. Work out who your market is. Look at the financial stuff. Is it going to cost me $100 to produce, but I can only sell it for $50? That's not going to work. You need to have a very basic marketing plan. When are you going to prototype? What is your minimum viable product, which is what is the bare basic that you can get out there into market to test? The business plan will be wrong. Accept that up front. It will evolve and it will change as you go through all of these prototypes and testing and understanding what it is that you want to do. But you've got something to start from, and then it will evolve as your product evolves. And then from then, it really is rinse and repeat. Give stuff to your customers, see what they do with it, understand, and then change and evolve and make sure that your product actually really works for the market that you're after. And then the other big mistake that people often make at any point along this time, they actually know, you don't have to announce it to Facebook. You don't have to get T-shirts done and do a march up and down Queen Street Mall going, this is my product and I'm going to do this and I'm going to make this big splash. Even when your product is out there and ready, you don't have to do a big flashy launch and that sort of stuff. The most important thing to do once you have an idea and you think it's going to work is very simply just start. It really is as simple as that. Thank you very much.